Hi, everyone. I wanted to share a story with you that I thought was really powerful, insightful, and on this theme that I think is always timely, but especially during the holidays, of forgiveness and reconciliation in our lonely, often bitter, and resentful and divided time. So, full confession, I travel a lot, but I'm not the kind of person who becomes best friends with my seatmate on every flight. I am not that person. Those people do exist. My mother is one of those people. She is someone, my mom Judy, for those of you who know her, have met her, mom, if you're watching, you're incredible, mom. Like, she is just brilliant at striking up a casual conversation and, creating lifelong friendships, literally with complete strangers. And my grandmother was the same way, just asking questions and finding areas of common ground. And just through time and attention, my mom and grandmother made complete strangers feel seen and known and loved. And she's the kind of person that will meet someone on the airplane and then invite them for dinner the next night or that night, or they'll share a car ride home. It's happened so many times where just a stranger shows up at my home that my mom has brought home from the airport, or it happened growing up as well. And my mom and grandmother are just passionate about the human social project, and not just intellectually, practically. They live their lives that way, and they make the world a warmer place because of it. I share that because that is not me. I'm often much more utilitarian. I am trying to get from point A to point B. Often it's an early flight and I'm like cat napping with my eye mask on and my neck pillow and blanket over my head, and just like trying to make it through, trying to just get to my destination. And yes, I don't always strike up a conversation or be best friends with the seatmate next to me. Yet yesterday, on my flight to DC, I'm in DC this week for several events, including the event tonight, Tuesday, I'll link to it, with Governors Cox and Shapiro about political violence and the threat to our democracy. And I'm looking forward to being here for that. But anyway, on my flight to DC, I sat next to a woman, and I did sleep for most of the flight. But at the end of our flight, like maybe the last 30 minutes, it was just clear that she wanted to talk. She had something on her mind, and she volunteered that she was on her way to DC because her father had just had a stroke, and she was not sure if he was still going to be alive when she got to the hospital to be with him. So she was coming from Florida to see him. She had just got the news the day prior that he was, stable, but unclear whether he was going to make it. And she shared that they had been estranged for most of her life. He left her mother and her brother when she was very young. Basically decided that he didn't want the responsibility of being a family, of a family, and so just left his family and basically cut ties, was not in touch virtually at all. He did end up showing up at her wedding in 1984, sat at the back, said a quick hello. And then she said she did not hear from her father from 1984 until 2019. Where she got a call out of the blue, and it had his name on the caller ID, and she said, "What is this about?" And she thought it was going to be maybe his girlfriend saying that he had died. Like, she had no idea. She hadn't spoken to him since her wedding in 1984. She picked up the phone, and it was him. And he said, "I'm sorry." He said, "I'm sorry for leaving. I'm sorry for not caring. I'm sorry for not showing up and being the father that you deserved, that you needed me to be." And I said to her, "That's incredible." And she said, since 2019 to now, we're in 2025, 6 years, they've had a really beautiful relationship. She forgave him, and she was open to reconciliation. She was open to making up for lost time because she hungered for that. I think we all do. We all, as children, we long for our parents. If we have ruptures in our life, we long for reconciliation and healing. And so she, showed up as well. And they've had a beautiful relationship the last 6 years. And so, she shared that, of course, she's sad that he may not make it from this stroke. But she has the peace knowing that they had the last beautiful 6 years together, where neither of them left anything on the table. Neither of them left things unsaid, which is so beautiful. And I asked her, I said, why did he, out of the blue, call you in 2019? Did he have a heart attack? Did he have a midlife crisis? Did he almost, like, a near-death experience? Like, what prompted this sort of moral transformation and conversion? And she said to me, it's so funny you say that. She said, that was the first thing he said to me on the phone when I picked up in 2019 after not talking with him for over 3 decades. He said, I'm not sick, I'm not dying, but I'm sorry. And so there's really no explanation for it. He didn't have this come to Jesus moment, this watershed crisis that brought him to his knees, made him see the error of his ways, which I think is remarkable. I'm really fascinated by that because often we can feel like we have unlimited time. And that's why we put off things like forgiveness and reconciliation. And that's why it's so easy to hold on to our bitterness and unforgiveness. Because we think that those people will always be there. And then when we have a death experience or, when our loved one dies, that's when we say, oh, I wish I had reconciled. I realize how short time is. I realize how short my life is. I wish I had done more. And we have those moments of regret. We hear those stories all the time where people have these horrible experiences that bring them to their knees. They shatter this illusion of the limitlessness of time. They shatter the illusion of self-sufficiency, that we don't need anyone. And they make us realize the fragility and preciousness of life, and that then compels us to reach out and reconcile it and bridge those gaps. And yet that wasn't the case here. And just, he woke up one morning and realized what he was missing and decided to change his ways, this woman's father. So I'm interested, Plato said, society and the state is the soul writ large. What he means by that, in Plato's Republic, a just society is made up of just citizens. So there is this, relationship between the micro and the individual and the social and the macro. And just tiny footnote, Plato said, a just soul is when wisdom rules passion through courage. The head rules the belly through the chest, in C.S. Lewis's rendition of that idea. And that proportionality, that order of passions, wisdom, passion, through courage, that was a just society, and that was a just soul, and that was mirrored in a just society where a philosopher king, the head, ruled the many, the appetite of demos, the multitudes, the people, through courage, through thumos, through the praetorian, through the military class. That was Plato's ideal, his just society in Plato's Republic. So anyway, that's long been a thread in philosophy and political theory that the individual, the society is the soul writ large. And I'm interested in this for this reason. So there's a well-documented reality called the 9/11 effect. Like, in times of crisis, we are united as a country. There's no question that we live in a fractured and vicious moment right now. And yet, looking at throughout history, looking at American history in particular, crisis and division division really is the norm. And times of unity are the exception. And the times of unity are times of great national crisis. And I'll give you a few examples. World War II. There was amazing bipartisanship and national unity during World War II when we were on the good side, the side of justice and the side of human dignity, fighting the evil of the Axis powers and the Third Reich and the dehumanization of vulnerable peoples in World War II. We were on the side of justice, and there was very little in the way of internal fissures during that season. Cold War. We were again fighting the evil, Soviet Union, and very unified, very internally coherent. 9/11. We were under attack by extremists who hated America, hated our way of life. And we endured a national crisis where over 3,000 Americans went to work in New York City and DC and and lost their lives because of an ideology that hated America. And, unbelievable unity. It brought out, is a tragedy that brought out the best in all of us. And amazing bipartisanship in Congress, and just a feeling that we're in this together. So the question is, can we have unity in our world right now, in America right now, without having to repeat the horrific, instances? We don't want another World War II. We don't want another Cold War. We don't want another 9/11. Heaven forbid. We do not want that. And yet, the aftermath of those crises, those horrible instances, was unbelievable national unity. Can we find a way to appreciate what it means to be a citizen, what it means to be human beings in ourselves and in others without that kind of crisis? As this woman's father did, when he woke up one day and said, I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better. I'm going to show up better in my life, and especially for my daughter, for the person that, I've really hurt in life. And I think that's what's so exceptional about his story. He didn't have a crisis. He didn't have a personal 9/11, a personal Cold War, a personal World War II. He just woke up and said, I'm going to do different. I'm going to be different. And that is, can we do the same thing in our individual lives? Can we show up? Can we choose forgiveness? Can we choose to apologize? Can we show grace? Can we show up differently without having our illusions of self-sufficiency shattered through a crisis, through a death, through a diagnosis? That's often how it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I love how this story of this woman's father who chose to reconcile with her shows us that we don't have to wait for that time of crisis where we all of a sudden lose someone and we feel regret. I wish I had realized how short and precious life and time is with our loved ones more. So I hope this is an encouragement for you to, this holiday season, choose reconciliation, choose forgiveness. Don't wait till it's too late. This is not a cliche. I love how this story that this woman shared with me embodies this right now, and this reality so beautifully, that we don't have to wait. And that, I don't know if she got to the hospital and her father had made it or not, but I do know made it or not. But I do know that, if she got there and he had passed away, she would not have any regrets. And he's, if he passed away, he wouldn't have had any either. And that's all we can hope for. And, as we choose forgiveness and healing and reconciliation, the human heart longs for that. As we choose that in our personal lives, that has a ripple effect societally. And that's why it's so, I think, futile to say, we need to repair our national divisions. Like, no, the society is the soul writ large. It starts with us. The citizen is prior to the regime. America's not divided. We are personally divided. America's not broken. We are personally broken. And this is the whole theory of social change and subtitle in my book, Healing Society Through Healing Ourselves. It starts with you right now. So who's that person that maybe you cut off? Who's that person you haven't spoken to in a long time, who you said something hurtful to, who has said something hurtful to you? Maybe this is the Christmas, the holiday season, that you reach out and remember that you don't need an apology in order to forgive. Someone doesn't have to say, I'm sorry for what they did to you in order for you to extend grace and forgiveness to them. Forgiveness can be one way, and it can be so freeing. And even if that reconciliation, full restoration isn't possible, like if it was with this woman and her father, you can only control yourself, and you can be free of the burden and the bitterness and resentment. I love it's such a cliche, but cliches are dominant and memorable because they're true. That bitterness and unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die. And I am the worst at this. I joke that it's the Irish in my family, that I have a long memory. It's really hard for me to let go of things sometimes. And that this is something I'm working on actively in my own life, letting go of these bitternesses and unforgivenesses to be free and to flourish and to bring the best version of myself to my loved ones and to my work and to you. We don't serve ourselves by holding on to these things. We don't retain power by holding on to these things. In fact, these bitternesses drain us of our power. So who do you need to reconcile with this holiday? And know that doing this work of healing ourselves through personal restoration and reconciliation, that is the work of healing our broken world. That's where it begins. So Merry Christmas. And on that note, excuse me, don't forget to join us this evening for our conversation with Junius Johnson on the joy we forgot. What is the good life? We'll explore that. We'll explore, this sounds so cliche, the magic of Christmas, but how can we have, excuse me, mythos and logos, the stories that make Christmas feel magical without compromising truth, and how do we move past the cynicism to restore a sense of imagination and possibility of what could be. Come ask these and many other questions with us. Patrons of Civic Renaissance, looking forward to seeing you 30 minutes before for the private invitation-only salon. So at 7, and then the public event starts at 7:30 tonight, Friday, December 12th. So looking forward to seeing you there. And Merry Christmas, and see you soon.